Welcome to the Jerry Pitre Show, your go-to podcast for everything in the world of collectible cards and sports memorabilia. Whether you're a seasoned collector or just getting started, we dive deep into the stories, history, and the trends shaping the market, from iconic rookie cards to rare sports artifacts. Join us as we explore the fascinating intersection of sports and collecting. Let's dig in to the treasures that tell the story of legends. Welcome to our second episode, and today we've got Bud Jr.
What's up? How's it going, man?
What's up? What's up? Longtime homie, longtime friend. Glad to have you on the podcast. The world might know him as the meme master, killing it on Reels, killing it on YouTube. Uh,
Thank you.
let's give the people a little introduction of you and everything you do.
What's up, man? My name is Bud Jr. Actually, it's Jacob, but there's like a million of us in the hobby, so I just go by Bud. It's a long nickname, family nickname. I like to collect, I like to play the game of Pokemon. I really like making content. I do YouTube, a little bit of TikTok, a lot of Instagram. Like Jerry said, I love making memes, like making people laugh. That's one of my favorite things to do. So, yeah, man, that's a little bit about me.
Epic, epic. Well, so let's start out like when did you first get into the hobby?
So as far as like the hobby in general, because I do a little bit of everything. I like to, collect. I've been a collector, I guess, since I was a child. It started with like video games, then I kind of went to Pokemon. Everybody liked Michael Jordan and Dan Marino when we were kids. So, I had my jerseys, my cards. I even had the little pencils. You remember the pencils you could get with all your sports teams on it?
Oh,
I
big
would
facts.
like make my mom buy like three or four, and I would hand out all of them, but like the Dolphins and the Bulls. And then became a Celtics fan. Started collecting Celtics gear when I was about 8 years old. Uh, got rid of everything. When you're a young dumb kid that doesn't have any money and doesn't have a job, you start buying and selling all your stuff off. And I don't know. I've always collected shoes, cards, a little bit of everything. So around COVID, I got bored. One of my friends was like, "Hey, man, I've been opening Pokemon again." And I was like, "Buy me a pack. Let's see what it's about." And then ripped some cards. And one day I took him thrifting with me, and we went to a shop that had a bunch of cheap Pokemon, and I just got back into it. Just kind of started opening and thought that was fun, and watched a lot of Leonhardt and Real Breaking Nate, and opened video stuff on Twitch at first, and kind of was like, "Oh, check this out," with a couple of my friends. And I met you and met all the other locals, and found out about the card world and card shows and stuff, and it's been a snowball ever since, man.
Let's go, bro. Let's go.
Yeah.
So you mentioned you collect like what do you personally collect? Like what's your, most valuable card, most sentimental card, or it doesn't even have to be a card. Like what's your most, sentimental item?
Uh, my most sentimental item I have a couple of things. One of the things I have that's really cool is a signed Chuck Norris Funko. I got to meet him last year at the Collecticon Dallas, I think. One of those. I don't know. It was one of those Collecticons. He's really cool. Ended up talking to him for about 5-10 minutes while he signed everything. My buddy JD, Rocket City Collector, shout out. He got some cards signed, and so I was there probably about 10 minutes, and we just talked about stuff. He was super nice. That was a really good moment. Um, I have this. This is pretty cool. This might be like my most expensive thing right now. I don't know if you can really see it. It's a
So for
PSA.
our audio listeners, what do you have in front of us?
It's a PSA 3 Japanese Gold Star Charizard from Dragon Frontiers. I'm a Dale Earnhardt fan since a small kid. I just thought the PSA 3 was kind of cool. So I decided that I was just going to collect all the gold stars and threes. And as of now, that's the best one I have. So,
Let's
yeah.
go. Let's go.
Yeah, man. I love
Now,
it.
as far as where you're in the hobby, are you just primarily collecting? Are you a dealer? Are you a flipper? Like kind of where do you stand in the hobby?
Uh, so I've done a little bit of all of it, right? I've done a little bit of the buy and the flip. I've done a little bit of the just collecting. I mean, I've got a small collection over here. I say small, it's, probably a Zion's case worth, but it's, something. I my thing is like I think I've tried to find like the perfect little pocket to where like I don't have to get a table or I don't have to really like do any of that because I actually got lucky. I was talking about Rocket City Collector earlier. Shout out to him. He introduced me to the world of vending by just helping him out, right? So I kind of got I've been in retail a good bit of my life and I kind of just knew what to do and how to wheel and deal with people anyway. He kind of introduced me to how that works. And, when you're behind the table, you can buy as a buyer. So even it doesn't matter what it is, I can kind of buy for me, buy to sell. I can get really good deals that way. So what I like to do is I'll just go hang out with my friends. If they don't want something, I'll be like, hey, I'll take a look at it and I'll buy it and try to make my money that way. And really, if you go to these shows as much as you and I do, like you can really find really good deals. There's always something that's like just criminally underpriced because someone forgot about it for like 6 months. There was a guy at the Game Jam South show. There was
Yep,
a
yep.
guy there that had all of his alt arts priced from like December of this year. So they were all like $80, $90 a piece and they're going for $180, $190 raw. So a couple of the boys cooked on that one. Um, but really I've got to the point where like I don't want to have to do it full time. I don't want it to be something that's like my job. But it is nice to be able to pay for this stuff. So I like to like try to find that medium. Like I said, I'd like to consider myself more of a collector than anything, um, because I don't really sell sports cards. I don't really sell like my autographed Funkos or sell my little toys or trinkets that I like put around the house or my art or anything like that. Pokemon's just something that's like I always want new things and I'm always like willing to trade or sell something to get something else. So to me, I've just found a perfect medium so I don't have to feel so stressed to get on Whatnot and be a seller or be anything other than just like, hey, I can make a little bit of money and I can collect what I want and not have to come out of my 9 to 5 check. So it's a
Yeah,
nice little medium.
I think that's a great middle ground. I always kind of try to tell people like, if you really want to like scale up, level up, like, you see these guys with $10,000, $3,000 cards and you're like, man, how could I ever afford it? Well, I always like to go, hey, what's in my box? What do I not absolutely love? Can I move this and throw a little cash on top, make a deal happen?
Exactly.
Because just like you said, if you don't have to come out of your 9 to 5 money to get what you want, I really think that's a success story, man.
Yeah, it makes it a lot easier.
Well, I see so many guys that are just super stressed out because they're going out of their 9 to 5 money. They're like, oh man, I'm gonna miss a car payment, my utility bill. And it's like, if I can sell 5 or 6 things and then toss on $100 or whatever, in my head, which we'll call it boy math, it's like, oh, hey, I only had to spend $100, right?
Yeah.
You
Yeah,
didn't really
exactly.
have to come up to $500 or whatever.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's always how I felt about it. And like you have to think like I'm no longer this degenerate, but we have all been a degenerate at one point ripping constantly, right? And you might not get a good hit, but when you do get a good hit, say you get it out of like a booster bundle, right? You buy a $30 booster bundle and then you hit the chase, which is like right now I think the Terapagos is like 150, something like that at the moment because the set comes out tomorrow. So you hit that on a $30 booster bundle, you're $120 in the green. You know what I mean? You take
Yeah.
that, you flip that into something else. You don't have to like always sit on things or get top dollar. So like if you get a $150 card, why don't you just sell it for 120 and make 80 and then you still get that 80 into something else you want, like you can always trade towards things. That's something I've learned. Like I had a PSA 2 legendary Charizard for a while. The way I got that was literally trading stuff that I just had sitting around. It was my PC that like it was my favorite Pokemon I collected, you know what I mean? And there was some like decent stuff in there. I think the most expensive card was like 150 bucks. But I technically traded him $700 in value, which I maybe had like
Couple $100. You
yeah,
didn't have the
three,
set
four hundred
that you didn't
dollars
have
in,
the full
right?
amount
Maybe
in.
three,
Yeah.
yeah, maybe $300-400 in. And like I traded it for a $500 card. Then traded that for something, and then that's how I got that crystals art or the gold star. It was basically just trade with a little bit of
Yeah,
cash, you know.
and I feel like and so the whole idea with this show is for the novice to kind of gain education, to kind of
Yeah,
learn.
for sure.
And I always feel like that's a really safe way to build up what you like. Because as
Yeah,
far as
absolutely.
collecting goes, I know my taste has evolved. I know your taste has evolved. And like you said, there's times where it's like, I want something completely different. And
Hmm.
instead of coming out of pocket, stressing about how you're going to pay bills, move some stuff that you don't love and, move into something that you really do like.
Exactly. And something that I'd like to say that I feel like probably people that, and I know do the same thing. And some of your listeners might even not think about this. Look through your closet, look through your parents' closets, like at your house, like at their house, like your stuff. You don't know what you might have had from a kid that might be worth some money that you could turn into Pokemon cards. You could turn into your next investment, whatever you want it to be, my
Oh,
parents put
dog,
me in.
I totally agree. I grew
Yeah,
up buying the old Nike SBs, and I'm like, man, had I kept all those pairs, I
yeah.
could probably pay for some very nice
You can
Pokemon
pay for a
cards.
lot of stuff. Exactly.
Yeah,
That's like
yeah,
I have a pair of shoes that I got when I was like 13, and they're just some Nike SB. They're not even cool. They're not dunks. They're nothing special. They're pink and blue and crazy colors. But right now they're like 250 bucks.
yeah,
I
exactly,
paid
exactly.
$70 for them. You know what I mean? Like that's crazy. And think about the stuff that is like 10, $20,000 right now, you know?
Exactly. So primarily you're a Pokemon guy. What trends do you think are kind of currently shaping the Pokemon market?
So I'm gonna let you guys in on a little secret that I've noticed. Um, I think the next thing to blow up as far as singles, slabs, things like that, the way it looks like for me, just getting on whatnot, what people are putting in their claim sales, things like that, the like mid era, like Diamond and Pearl, up to like probably Black and White, somewhere in there, like that era is going to go crazy. If you have anything like that, any of those reverse hollows, a lot of the hollows that like a month ago were probably $3 or $4 or $5 a piece. I've seen going for like 15, $20. So, keep an eye on that. I think that might go crazy. As far as like the sealed stuff and what that's kind of doing, it seemed like Evolutions was like kind of the king. Everyone likes Umbreon. I know Imani was talking about Black Cat for a while, so even sports card people knew about
We're gonna
that.
get him on. We're gonna get him correct. He needs to come correct. It's Umbreon because I've had so many people reach out to me like, "What is this black cat that he's talking about?" And it's like, it's Umbreon.
Honestly,
But
I love it. I think it's hilarious. I say it
I
at this point.
I think it's funny too.
Wait till he finds
Now,
out about the pink cat. You know what I'm talking about?
oh, big
Espeon.
facts,
Wait till he
big
finds
facts.
out about the pink cat. It's game over.
So okay, how would you say like the Pokemon card market's like evolved over the last couple years, especially since you've been in as a kid
Man,
and you're actively playing
yeah,
the game right now? Kind
yeah,
of,
yeah. So I guess what I could say about that, like as far as like from the beginning to now, like I do remember like very vividly as a kid buying like magazines that had like what's the most expensive Pokemon card and this and that, and I think Beckett was one. I know there was another one that was just it might have been by Beckett, but it was just called like Pokemon Collector or something. But I just Charizard base set Shadowless, $1,000. I always was like, that's crazy, like I'll never be able to afford one. And which is funny because like now I look back and I remember like, probably 2008, like someone tried to get me back into Pokemon and I just like wasn't ready yet. I was just like, nah, man, whatever. Like it's not enough, whatever. $100 for Charizard. He was 1,000 when I was a kid. And then when I got back into it and started opening packs again and started like looking prices up, it was like this was like 2021, like right after, like probably like 4 months after COVID, you know. And I started looking and I was like, man, like this is crazy. Like these cards are going for this much. I was like, there's no way. Like I have to have some of these lying around. I didn't. I don't know where they are. I still haven't found them. But the market, I think personally, from COVID till now, is finally getting to a healthy point, to where everything's kind of leveled off. There's a lot of cards that were like $130 before COVID, went up to like $900, $1,000 after, and they're kind of coming back down to like closer to 300, 400, 500, which is where they should have been anyway, right? A lot of the like mid era, the legendary collection, gold stars, a lot of that stuff was already criminally undervalued before COVID, just because like the only people who really cared about Pokemon at that time were players. And the way you play, things go out of rotation. You can't use it. You know, it kind of tries to stay with the new stuff. So you have to buy new cards, and you know, no one is like, they don't make one crazy card that just you can never beat that you can always use. That's the one thing I like about Pokemon is like they like to, well, I say the one thing. One of the many things I like is that they keep it consistently like changing. Like they might make one card that you have to play for like a year that is the best card in the game. It can beat like almost anything, but they always make little tiny cards that help this card make it better, help that card. And playability makes things valuable as well. So that's kind of what keeps the new market going. That and like art, like alt arts, and I think they're called SIRs now. I'm always going to call them alt arts. It doesn't matter to me. Like SIR sounds crazy. Anyway, I do genuinely think that the market is healthy now because people can still make money. They can still buy cards that are really cool for really cheap. There's a bunch of great value out there. And I think the more people that are getting into it just makes it cooler because they're learning about cards that like maybe you and I knew about 3 or 4 years ago, right? Like a lot of people didn't know about vending series 3 or 4 years ago, and now everyone's like vending series, vending series. Ah, so like little things like that's really cool just to see like the general like collector, the normal everyday person you'll see at a show and meet at a show that you may do a trade with. They're wanting things that maybe you and I valued a little bit higher back in the day. So like why we may have like missed the train essentially by selling them early, like to me it feels good to like be like, okay, well cool, now people are actually appreciating the things that I knew were cool, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
So,
exactly.
so like I feel like the curve is like coming back around to where people can actually afford to buy like, you know, PSA 10 Charizards. Like I might not be able to do it. I might not ever own a shadowless PSA 10 Charizard, but being able to afford it compared to like having to buy a 5 bedroom home, you know, like I don't know, it's kind of nice. Like it's kind of nice to see that nothing is $1 million at the moment. So I don't know. I
Not
want,
yet. Not
yeah,
yet. We're going to the moon, though.
yeah. I want things to be expensive, but I also want collectors to be able to afford things that are unnecessarily expensive. Like there's 4 different versions of base set Charizard. The only one that should be expensive is PSA 10 Shadowless or clean Shadowless first editions. Shadowless, regular first edition, whatever, all of that should just be one. There's only one real rookie Charizard, you know what I mean? And that's not even the rookie. Cardass is the rookie. That's undervalued. That's a very
Well,
undervalued set.
I know. So for our listeners, Bud is very primarily a Japanese collector, right? I've seen him have some English cards, but me personally, I'm an English guy.
He likes to
we're gonna
read
keep
his
it
cards.
with the 91 Shadowless Charizard. That's the OG to me. But he is 100% correct. I think the card ass Charizard, what was it, 97, 96, something like
I
that.
think it's the 96 is the original. Yeah.
Yeah.
They're and well, I mean, now they have those like beta cards or whatever. Like that's cool, but to me, like that's not a rookie card. That's like a Michael Jordan North Carolina Coca-Cola card. You know what I mean?
I would totally agree. I
Which
would
that's also
totally agree.
undervalued too, as someone who's not necessarily a like investor. I don't know a lot about sports, whatever. I genuinely think that just that card specifically, all the different options. If that were a Charizard rookie Coca-Cola card, do you know how much
Oh
that
yeah.
would go for? Like,
Oh, big
it doesn't
facts.
to me, it doesn't make sense in the sports world why some things are so cheap, and in the Pokemon world, like, we go crazy for them. Like, oh, there's Domino's Pokemon cards,
Well,
there's
well,
7-Eleven Pokemon
so
cards, like,
it's hilarious. Like in the world of Pokemon, like you'll have error cards, misprints, right? And everybody freaks out, like, "Oh my
yeah.
god, look at this thing!" It's way top to bottom, left to right, off center.
Mhm.
In the world of baseball, they look at it and go, "Oh, look, this is dog water. Throw it off to the side." And
Yeah.
it's very interesting because in the world of Pokemon, you've got something crazy like that. It goes for way more than it
Yeah.
should. So
Absolutely.
so let me get into this next one. What do you think some common like misconceptions that like buyers and sellers have about Pokemon?
I think okay, the average seller, well, I won't say average. The new seller, I feel like what their issue is with Pokemon is they still think all the COVID articles are like true. They think that they can take every card they own and make $1 million. You know what I mean? Um, that's just not true anymore. As far as just like a regular seller, I feel like we all kind of know where you stand as a seller when you go to actually sell to someone who does it for a living, right? Because if you're selling to like a normal person who's not selling it to flip it, you can get your 100%, 90%, whatever you're trying to get. But when you're trying to go to seller to from table to table, you know what I mean, and sell your cards, they're going to offer you 60, 70%. Some people offer 80, depending on what you're doing and who you're going to, but I feel like a lot of people forget that. And like I always like if I'm buying something to sell, I try to tell people up front, like I'm not keeping this card. So like I am only going to be able to offer you this. And I just get straight to the point because I like to haggle, but like I really only like to haggle if it's like for me. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah,
because then
no,
I
I
feel
agree
like
with that.
I'm okay with like them getting the better end. But like if like I'm trying to like buy something to flip and I don't even really want to buy it and you're coming to me to sell it, it's like I'm gonna offer you 65 to 70%. That's the best I can do because as me, like I said, just being a guy who kind of does this just to like make money on to buy his cards, I buy at a lower percent because all of my friends buy and sell. So like they're not gonna buy at 100%, and I'm not gonna waste my time going on eBay and doing all this like a million different things just to try to sell one card when I can go to excuse me, my boy JD or any of my local homies and be like, I got all these cards. I'll take 80%. Sometimes they'll do it, sometimes they won't. But that's why I've been trying to get bigger cards because 9 times out of 10, you can get your 80, 90% sometimes even if you got a gold star or you got a crystal.
Yeah, yeah.
And so I think it all depends on what you want to do. Do you want to have a lot of stuff for sale so that anyone can come and buy? Do you want to like just sell big things? Do you have the customer base? A lot of people think they can just like pull their cards out of their closet and sell to anyone off the street. And it just doesn't work that way.
No, I would
You have to
totally agree with
know.
that. I see that all the time where people go, "Oh, I can list this and I can get 100% on eBay." And I'm sitting there like, and not to sound like an eBay snob, but it's like, dude, looking at your eBay, you've got 2 feedback. Like
Hmm.
nobody's going to come to you.
Yeah.
Now, you got 400 feedback and you're offering something, you might be able to get a higher percentage. You might be closer to that last comp price, that last, and for our novice listeners, a comp is just a completed sale. And so, just because the last one did 100 doesn't necessarily mean you can get 100.
Yeah.
Doesn't mean I can get 100.
Well, the funny thing about it is they didn't even get that 100 on eBay.
Say
So
it for the people.
you have to think about that. It's like if you're selling on eBay, there's already fees. And I don't know if you've sold on eBay recently. I know you have, Jerry. But for anyone listening, like you have a 13.2 5% like standard card fee straight out, whether or not you promote or anything, it automatically comes out. Then your percentage for promoting comes out. My little trick is instead of doing the 14 or whatever, I take it down to 2%. Still shows about 80 to 100 people. Usually I can get it sold in 80 to 100 people. If not, I need to take it somewhere else.
So what
So,
he's referencing right now is your promotion fee. And so
yeah.
when you promote on eBay, you can adjust the fee structure. And I actually do the exact same thing that he said. I put it to the very minimum, which is 2%, and that gets your card in front of more eyes. However, that is an additional fee on top of your percentage on
All right,
top of
hold
that.
on.
Um, so when you're going to sell online, don't think you're selling something for 100 and receiving something for 100, because you're not. You've
Exactly.
got the 13% right off the top. Have you promoted it? Me personally, I offer free shipping on mine so I can be top rated, and shipping costs. I just recently sold a hockey card that's going to Canada. And
Oof.
it's funny because the guy tried to lowball me, and I said, "Hey, buddy, this comes with free shipping. You live in Canada. That's not cheap." And he's like,
No.
"Bet, appreciate
Yeah.
it." But yeah, man, I tell you, that's a great point, and a lot of people don't think that. They go, "Oh, anybody can take photos," because there's a lot of times, man, I'll go on these eBay listings, and you look at these photos, and it's like, dog, you didn't even turn the lights on to take the photo. Like,
Yeah.
not only that, it's blurry Android phone quality pictures, you know.
It's rough. It's rough. I eBay's one of those things, it's like you have to put like minimal effort into, and it's good, you know? They even have an AI for your description.
Yeah,
I
you
put the
literally
AI
don't have to think
description
about
every
anything. You
time.
just
You
press the
literally,
button and it draws it up.
yeah,
Yeah.
I had a system because for a while I was taking like all my bulk and just like dollar cards. It's like if I only make 50 cents off of these 400 cards, I've made 50 cents off of each one. You know, that's 200 bucks. So
Yeah.
I was selling them, boom, 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 and I just basically was going to the last sold, click, sell one like this, in there, 3 or 4 pictures, description, boom, done. You know, immediately listed. It took like 2 or 3 hours to do like 150 cards or something like that. So I highly recommend if you are going to sell on eBay, you just need to be prepared for that fee. You need to be prepared to offer some kind of either free shipping or best offer. Don't just like put $50 on your,
100%. You have to offer the best offer, because I see so many guys, because there's some things on eBay right now that I want. And of course, none of them have best offer. And I'm like,
yeah.
dog, that's been sitting there for a year and a half. I've been watching this item for a year and a half. You've
Yep.
not dropped the price.
Yep.
Like, you got to be able to wiggle.
Yeah.
So, as a guy who does a bunch of card shows, what role do you think card shows play in the hobby? Like for instance, like we're talking to a novice. Why should they attend a card show? I mean, everybody has eBay, whatnot, Macari. What makes a card show different?
Um, the relationships and bonds you build with other people, because as much as you'd like to, you can't really build as good of a bond like through eBay. You definitely can't build a bond through eBay. Every time I buy something, like I bought another gold star recently to go with the Charizard, and I messaged them and I was like super excited, and I was just like, "Oh, I think I've like seen you guys at a card show," and like they were kind of stoked, but like I could tell that like I was just way more excited, and I feel like if we would have had this interaction in person of me just trying to buy the card outright, it may have went a whole different way. You know what I mean? Um, I do know they do a bunch of local shows, so I'm gonna go, see them and be like, "Hey, ho, ho, check out what I got," that kind of thing. But I just feel like the interaction is the most important part to me. And you get to meet people, you get to see things, especially if you're going to these bigger shows like Collecticon or the National or something. You may get to like meet one of your favorite athletes. You may get to meet one of your favorite voice actors, your favorite comedian, whoever, and you really never know like who's going to be walking around buying or who's going to be just like for Collecticon, they do concerts. Like Richmond, they had Waka Flocka. I had no idea. Had I known, I might have tried to go to Richmond. You know what I mean? I love Waka Flocka. He's very energetic. No one expected him to go and rip Pokemon cards, and you saw that went viral. You know what I mean? So things like that, you just never know what you're going to get to see. I've got to see Sugar Ray, Yin Yang Twins, Steve Aoki, like things I probably never would have like paid otherwise for, no offense. But like I've got to see those things, I listened to Sugar Ray since I was like 7 years old. So that's pretty cool, man. There's just you never know what you're gonna see. And I highly recommend traveling. If you've ever thought about like, man, I really want to go to one of these, but like it's far or whatever, save the money. Um, Go with your friends. You can always split a room with your friends and go and just like live like degenerates for the weekend and just have fun. You don't have to live in like the lap of luxury or whatever. You can just like get a hotel room with two queen beds, and the bros are going to snuggle each other, and they're going to get up and eat the hotel breakfast, and they're going to go grind some cards out. You know what I mean? Like it's an experience. I think if you've never done it, it's a great way to make friends. It's a great way to wheel and deal because you can't trade on eBay. You can trade on Veriswap. I know you like doing it, but as you know, I had a hard time for some reason. Like no one ever wanted to trade anything of value in
Everybody
me.
on
So
Veriswap's overpriced. I mean,
yeah,
don't feel
yeah,
guilty, dog. Like
yeah. So
100%. Like if a card's doing 100 on Veriswap, they're asking 130. Like
easily, yeah.
yeah,
So I mean, I tried, and it's just like I feel like I have like the kind of personality where I need to see someone face to face to like kind of feel them out. You know what I mean? So I just think it's a great way to make friends, to make deals, to see other cities, to see voice act. You can meet Goku. You can meet Chuck
yeah,
Norris.
yeah. Well, I think the big thing that you really hit on that resonates with me is the relationships. Like, for instance, I've met so many guys. That's how I met Jake. Like, I met him at a card show, and Jake, shout out, what's his Instagram? He's
Lions Den, Jacob Shaker.
Lions Den.
Yep.
Yep. And so I met him actually. It was a flip show, and we were just talking, chopping it up, and he goes, "Oh yeah, man, this guy right here is my PC." And so I'm walking around the show floor, and I actually found like a one of one of that player. And
Was
so
it
I
Julio
walked back up.
Jones?
No, it wasn't Julio. What's the other guy he collects? He gets hurt in basketball every year.
Oh, Derrick
But
Rose.
huh?
Derrick Rose.
No.
I think I know who
Joel
you're talking about.
Embiid.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
I
So he
was a
PCs
76ers
Embiid.
fan.
And so I'm walking around a show, and I see a Joel Embiid, and I want to say it was like a 101, like a super fractor to 5, something along that line, right?
Yeah.
And so I take a photo of it, and I walk back up to him, and I go, "Hey, bro, you said Embiid's your PC, right?" And he goes, "Yeah." And I said, so I showed him the photo. He goes, "Wait, that's here?" Bro, I walked him to that table. He did a deal and bought it right then and there.
That's
But,
awesome. Yeah.
with those relationships, not only do you do a deal once, but if it sets you up to do deals multiple times. And like,
Exactly.
I always try to push to people, like, instead of me selling to you and getting 100%, why don't I sell to you for, 70, 80%? And we do deals thousands of times
Yeah.
because in the end, if you're making money and I'm making money, that's a win-win for everybody. Because you see a lot of these
Exactly.
guys on YouTube and they're like, bro, we just cooked that guy and this, that. And it's like, cooking people only live so long, but if I'm doing deals with you
Preach.
thousands of times, bro, we're both coming up. We're both going to help each other. And, not only that, building upon that relationship, situation. That's how I met Yabo. That's how I met
Yep.
Amani. And referencing, talking about traveling to shows. That's what we'll do. We'll get a hotel room with 2 beds, and I'll bring an inflatable mattress and I'll sleep on the floor. And people are like,
Yeah.
"Oh my God, how did you afford going to this show?" And it's like, bro, we split that hotel room 3 ways. We went and
Mhm.
ate the breakfast from the hotel, so we're saving money on that.
Yep. Exactly.
We're going into an Uber situation together. Like, you don't have to go at these kind of things alone. And definitely, I feel like doing shows is like giving me lifelong homies. Like I've got
Exactly.
guys
Yep.
now that it's like, I would have never met them by doing a deal on eBay. Now, when I
Mhm.
sell on eBay, I always try to write in like a thank you note and like, here's my IG, whatever, give me a follow. But as far as, long-term relationships, I really feel like the card shows are the way to go.
It's the easiest way to go, and it's something I want to, say that I used to hear all the time is don't slaughter the cow if the milk is still good.
Yeah, big
There's no
facts.
reason for you to eat the steak if you can drink the milk for years and years and years, because the meat's only going to be good for so long, you know? So don't go around screwing people over for an extra 10, $20 when you could literally just, you know, meet them in the middle or do whatever. Like I know you've talked about it. My boys at BHC in Nashville.
Shout out,
I
those are the homies. One of the
anytime
best shops in Nashville,
facts,
100%. Go
facts.
check
I
them
have
out
a
if you're in
yep.
Nashville.
Yep, I have to agree. I have a video about it on my Relic Hunter Bud YouTube. Go check that out, and then get an idea if you want to go or not. But those guys definitely have always looked out for me. So anytime like they throw a number at me for cards, I don't even. I'm just like, yeah, sure. Like I don't think there may be one or two times where I've been like, give me like 10 more bucks and we're good. You know what I mean? Like they just always take care of me so well that like it doesn't matter what number they could literally probably be offering me 40% and I would just say, yeah, sure. Just because you make that connection with somebody and you never know, you know what I mean? Like one day they may have something that I like really want and like I'm like, please hold that while I drive to Nashville, and they would always do it. So it's like you just don't know who may be able to help you with what later in life. And something I've always been taught is to not to burn a bridge, especially if it's something we're all in the same thing. We all love these cards. We all love collecting one way or another. We might not like the exact same stuff, but we all are deep down in it for the same reasons, genuinely, most of us. So I don't see why anyone should be trying to get over on the next one. There's enough for everybody to eat. What we really need to be doing is getting more people into the hobby so that more people spend money. And then we can all just spread our money even more. You know what I mean?
Oh, I
Because
would totally agree, man. I mean, so I always see these dealers who like I'm cooking this kid, I'm cooking these people,
yeah,
and
yeah.
it's like I've just had so much better success with like I've like given deals to little kids, right? And it's like we're talking $5, $10 cards like that. I'm
Yeah,
in them for
absolutely.
$2, $3, super cheap, right? Well, when I give the kid a deal, dad goes over there and goes, hey man, you got this nice Michael Jordan over here. You want to do a deal on that? You got, $1,500 on it.
Yep.
Where do you want to be? And it's like, man, let's do 12. And it's like, because I gave his son or daughter a good deal, bro, he's breaking some real, he just paid the rent, I got a
Yeah.
little bit of extra
Yeah.
for the utility bill. Like,
Exactly. Yeah.
so yeah, definitely. Like, I kind of would like to end the like stigma of you got to cook all these people and there's no longevity to it. Like
No.
it's not
No.
realistic.
No, don't get me wrong. Like I said earlier, when we were talking about Game Jam, that guy had been to multiple shows, he said. So like you have plenty of
Oh
time
yeah.
to check your comps. If you're not gonna do the work, that's not on me. Like I am gonna cook you every time. If you're gonna offer me a crazy deal, I'm gonna take it. Whether or not you're doing it as a like, hey, like I know I'm giving you this deal or not, like I'm gonna take it. If you're my friend, I may be like, "Hey, man, like, are you sure? That's like this. It's like 40, 30%, and like, or whatever." Like, I've been playing at the Deep a lot, right? And the other day, I was playing at one of the pre-releases for the new Pokemon set, and the guy who runs it was like, "Hey, man, like, I have these staff promos. Like, they gave us too many." I was like, "Man, those are really cool. Like, I never got any of those. Like I've been trying to buy them." And he was like, "Here you go. Just gave them to me." And I that's just off of me like going in there and goofing off and like maybe making a joke or two like between turns when I'm suck in.
Yeah, yeah.
You know, whatever. But like when I'm losing, I'll be like, ah, blah blah blah, and make him laugh. Like it's just always like I'm always trying to like make other people smile and just like I like to like something that's always stuck with me is like, you know, be the what you want to see in the world. And it's like I like laughing, I like being happy, I like being around people who make me happy. So it's like I just want to be that guy for other people. Like if I can make you laugh, my job is done. So like that's like probably my purpose in life is to just like make everybody at the card show laugh or make everybody like, yo, that's the homie, whatever. He's goofy. Like I always want people to just like enjoy themselves, you know. So
No, I totally agree with that. And, I've had so many interactions where people like, it's like you go to a show and you're excited to be there and you're like, oh man, I'm looking for this. And the guy on the other side of the table just says, get off my lawn, kid. And you're like,
yeah, yeah.
like what's going on here, bud? Like, I'm trying to break some bread with you. I'm trying to spend some
Hmm.
money. Like, let's get a deal. And you're like, dude, it's like 10 in the morning. Like,
Yeah.
who peed in your Cheerios, man?
Right.
Like,
Well,
not
I mean,
me.
in some of those people's defense, it could be a hangover. I've been there. You know, like you don't
Hey,
think about it
listen.
at trade night at 4 in the morning, like 9 shots deep, and then you just like have to
Yeah,
wake up
yeah.
and do it all over again. So
But
I mean,
but
I don't
in
always, but there is a
general,
difference. There is a difference, like you
yes,
said.
yeah, exactly. Listen, I've seen the guys that come in there and they're on the red eye and they're like, oh, I just got off the plane. And you're like, okay, hey, that's cool. But I mean, I've just seen some guys that were just nasty to deal with, and I'm just like, bro, why?
Yeah.
I'm over here trying to give you some cash. Like
I
I'm,
can actually, yeah. One of the very first Nashville card shows I've worked with JD. There was I'm not going to name any names, but there was a sports card collector that, you know, or whatever, a guy who had a shop, and he was a pretty big name. Like he had probably 20, 30,000 people on Instagram, and he set up at the show. And the Saturday before, he was like calling himself like the $1 million man and acting like he was hot shit. And I'm the $1 million man. No one can fuck with me. And like, I wasn't there for all that. But like, I used to follow him. I thought he was pretty cool until I heard that. And then the next day, I went to go see what all the hubbub was about, right? And it ended up being um, like I went to the show, helped JD, and dude was like not there. This was like probably 8 or 9, and we were like, huh, they're not set up yet. Whatever, that's weird. So you know how the shows are. They usually VIPs at like 9 or 10, 10 on Sunday or something like
yeah,
that,
yeah, yeah.
right? So they didn't show up till like probably 1 or 2 o'clock, hungover. And it was two of them, and the one dude went and just stayed in the bathroom all day. Who knows what he was doing in there? Uh, but you know,
Probably
so
bent over in front of a toilet, hating his life.
yeah, one way or the other, you know what I
Yeah.
mean? And so he just like had an attitude and he was all bad. And the next day, like they didn't sell anything. And like seeing that as like an outsider and as like like I said, that was one of my really like first shows I ever vended, and like just like seeing it as a fan of this person, I was like, like this is so disrespectful. Like if you're gonna have that facade on the internet and you're gonna be like an influencer or a person or like that, whatever, if you're gonna go to these shows and be in public, like you have to be ready to like at least greet these people. You know what I mean?
At
Like they're
some
there
level
for you.
professional,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, they're there for you. You don't have to necessarily be like, oh, I love you, peace and love, haha, whatever. But like you've gotta at least greet them with some kind of professionality. And like he had zero. And just that's one thing I've noticed as being on the other side, not just as like a collector, as a fan or like a show goer. It's like you see these people for who they really are, and you notice which ones are like real people and like are in this because they love this hobby, and which ones are just like a snake oil salesman on to the next trend. You know what I mean?
Yep.
So it's one of those things you just kind of have to like use your like personality to like figure out what kind of people you click with, and then you kind of go with them. If you want to be in it for a little bit to make a bunch of money and screw people over, I'm not going to judge you, but I'm not going to do anything with you. You know what I mean?
I would totally agree with that. Yeah. So I had an interaction with a very popular influencer, seller, whatever, right? And so, and this was actually at the Nashville show too. And the Nashville show is giant. I mean, for
It's
anybody who's
huge.
listening,
It's one of my favorite.
I would totally agree. What do you think? 500 plus tables? I mean, it is.
I
You
want to
you
say
better have your walking shoes on.
the
I mean,
flyer says 700 plus tables on it.
okay,
I want to
exactly.
say it always says
Yeah,
700 plus.
700 plus table. You better have your walking shoes on. Your step count is going to be crazy high. So I'm walking around, and this was an influencer that I followed on YouTube, TikTok, Instagram, and I'm like, oh, let's get like, and I know it sounds silly, but you're like, oh man, this person seems so cool online. And when I get to the table, they're running a whatnot show right there, right? And
Yeah.
I'm sitting there like, hey, what's up? And like the one dude like looks over and was like, oh, he's on whatnot right now. And I'm just like, what? Why are you out on the, I understand you're trying to build a business, but you are literally physically here in front of people and you're kind of just shitting on them like, oh, y'all aren't important. These people are spending money.
Yeah.
And it's like, first off, dude's got some crazy stuff. I really wanted to go over there and break bread. And he had stuff in a case. And he had no stickers, so I had no idea on prices. And I'm sitting there trying to patiently, like, hey, let's do a deal, this, that, and the
Yeah.
other.
Yeah.
For one, I was gonna try to do a deal and let's take a picture together. Like,
Yeah.
here's
Make
this
it the
cool
whole
influencer.
thing, not just, yeah.
But it was such a negative interaction. I literally was like, that it. What's the point of even going to the show? Like, if you're gonna come with that kind of an attitude, like I understand, like, hey, we're going to do a little whatnot thing, do a giveaway, yada, yada, and get back to the show. But I went back the next day and it was the same thing. And there were
Yeah.
still no stickers out there. So it was like, I couldn't even
Yeah,
come
that's
spend
tough.
money with you if I wanted to, bro.
Yeah, especially if they don't have the prices. It's like if all you're gonna do is be on your phone the whole time and then not have anything
And
priced.
not engage with people who are physically there in front of you. And it was just like, and that's an expensive show to set up as.
Seems
I
like a
mean,
waste of money, honestly.
I
Like
would totally
you could
agree.
have
Like
stayed at
as a
home and did
dealer,
that.
like what advantage did you have other than like, oh, I'm going to be at this show. Come by and say hi. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, bro. I tried to. You were
Yeah.
glued to your phone, dog. Like,
Yeah. Like this isn't
um,
Fanatics Fest. This isn't Collecticon. Like those are big shows that are like more for that, right? Like this is a place for you to go and sell your merchandise, whether it be cards, whether it
sell
be
your brand.
memorabilia,
Yeah,
sell yourself, So it's like I feel like I don't know, dude. People that do that, it's like I get it. I get it. I totally get wanting to do a box break at Collecticon because then the people feel like they're there and da da da. But like, you have to like divide it up because if you're not giving your attention to both parties, then one of them is losing. It's like you know what I mean. Like, don't have two kids if you only have enough time for one kid. The other kid's gonna end
I
up.
would totally
Yeah,
agree.
you know what I
I would
mean. Like,
totally agree.
you
Like,
just don't live beyond your means. Like that's one of the biggest things I can say about this is like, and that's just in life is like, don't overdo yourself as a creator. Don't overdo yourself as a seller, as a business person, as an influence, whatever you want to do. You have to know your bound and just try to, when you outgrow it, then good. Then you move on. You don't have to like jump out there like and just be like, bah, like wear yourself thin, man. I've seen a lot of people do it. Like, that's why I don't post as much as I like should is because like I'm just kind of trying to slow roll it and get to that point where like eventually one day I'm gonna be like Alex Ketchum or a Deep Pocket Monster who posts a video a day. Like I'm just not there. I don't have that much content. Like I work a 9 to 5. Like I can't be like, here's what I saw on my drive home today, because it's just gonna be
yeah.
me going ah at the steering wheel. So
So since you're actively playing the game,
yeah.
like how important do you think it is for collectors? And since you're primarily Pokemon TCG, how
Hmm.
important is it for collectors to stay informed about like market trends and news? So like in sports, like 2 weeks ago, a week ago, Jordan Love twists an ankle,
Yeah.
finds it in somebody's armpit. But popularly on the Quiet Card podcast, I like to joke and say, Charizard can't tear an ACL. So
Yeah.
like,
Facts.
in the world of Pokemon, how important is it to stay informed and in the
So
market trends?
I mean, especially if you never know what you have, right? Like I was kind of saying earlier, like the meta changes every day, so new cards are released and are playable, and old cards are not playable, and like things
Now,
get
real
like
quick,
rotated.
meta is what he's meaning. Is that as far as the strategy of the gameplay, correct?
Yeah, basically.
Yeah.
That's just like what most of the people are considering the best of the best. And there's like three or four at a time. I think right now there's like two or three that are really good. There's, I mean, it changes. Like I said, it's like we just had Worlds into August. It's already the middle of September, and it seems to be, from what I've seen on Twitter, drastically changing. Like the world's winner deck was, I think, the Iron Thorns, which is a crazy deck that I personally don't think should have. That's a whole nother story. This thing, the jerk off motion, whatever. That's a whole nother game, a whole nother podcast in itself. But there's decks like that are like, obviously people are going to play that, right? Because it just won Worlds. Oh, hi, sorry. Um, but then you have stuff like Reggie Drago, which like a bunch of people played two Worlds, and it's like super duper popular.
So for our listeners,
Here we
catch
go.
everybody
Yeah.
back up. What is Worlds exactly, right? I view that as like the Super Bowl of Pokemon, right?
That's literally what it is. So Worlds is just like the World Championships. They invite a small amount of people from each country, each region. They do video games and the TCG, and then like the Pokemon Go and Unite and all the games they do on the phone. And basically everyone just kind of dukes it out. It's 3 days of just like the best of the best playing the game. And then the winner gets like a big lump sum of money, a really expensive card, and a really nice trophy. It's
Now,
pretty
don't
sweet.
they also get a signature deck as well?
They do. That usually comes like later in the year.
Okay.
I think that goes to like the top three or four people too. It may only go to I want to say London had like three or four. So I'm not sure how they decide who gets what. But
I always felt like that would be the coolest accolade of the whole thing is that
yeah,
you have
yeah.
an own custom deck
It has
where,
your autograph on it, and it's sold in Walmart, Target, every card shop all over the world. You
yeah.
know, it's crazy that you say that because like playing at Poke Collect, like I'll just kind of like see, like if I'm just like kind of not in the game, I'll be kind of watching like what people are doing in the store, and like you see a lot of people buying the like just Worlds decks, and it's like I didn't think those are super collectible or super sought after, but it seems like they are because like at least three or four usually sell every Saturday, and I'm only there for like 3 or 4 hours. So to me, that's kind of crazy. Like that's not something that just came out or something that's like super valuable, but some kid watched his favorite Pokemon win, and now he wants that deck, because it won a world championship. So I think that's pretty
No,
cool.
that's super cool. So just as an ender, kind of, do you have any like, and remember, this is for the novice. This is for somebody who's starting at zero. We're trying to
Hmm.
educate them. Do you have any advice, like how to get into the hobby, how to make it, the longevity that be there? We don't want to burn people out. Like, you got any advice?
So I think my advice as a new collector, if you're trying to get into this hobby, whether it be sports, Pokemon, whatever you want to collect, um, listen to yourself as far as like, you know what you like, you know what you want, you know, don't let someone else tell you like, hey, this is what you should collect. This is what you should do. Like you can definitely look at trends, you can definitely look at the market and look and see at what's popular if you're trying to be a reseller. But if you want to be a collector, at the end of the day, you're the only one who can be happy with your product. You have to come home to it. You have to look at it. It's going to be on your shelf, in your Zion, whatever, right? So at the end of the day, you have to enjoy it. So that's all I can really say about that is as long as you're happy with it, like who cares what anyone else thinks? If you want the Joe Exotic card or the Hawk Tuah Girl card or the Jinx Pokemon card, the banned Jinx, whatever, that's yours. You like it, and it's all that matters. Don't let anyone else tell you that your collection's weird because what do they know? You know what I mean? Like you're the one that it has to make happy at the end of the day, and as long as you're happy, what does it matter, man? That's what I think about it for real. Is just do what you love.
Yeah, I would totally agree with that. I'm a very much hobby your own way buy what you like. You know, like you said, at the end of the day, you've got to live with it. So
Yep.
what does it matter if somebody else thinks something positive, negative, what have you? So,
Facts.
man, I really appreciate you taking the time to join us. Like I said, longtime homie, the
Yes,
meme
sir.
master. Plug your socials. Let the people know, where can we find you, what platforms, what's the next show you're attending. Give us the rundown.
For sure. So on Instagram, Relic Hunter Bud is really what you should follow. Bud Jr. is my just regular page, but I post most of my stuff on Relic Hunter Bud. Same on YouTube. I am bud.jr_ on TikTok. That's pretty much all I do. I think the next show I'm going to be at as of now is Collecticon Atlanta. So if you're coming to Atlanta, come say what's up. I'm going to be filming and doing some content there. So got a couple of things planned. If you want to be a part of it, let's make it happen.
Sweet, sweet. Hey, man, like I said, I appreciate you for taking your time. I think, you know, this is going to be a super valuable conversation and really help a lot of people grow, because that's really the whole point of this podcast is, you know, we just want to bring education. I see so much doom and gloom. Oh, my God, your hobby's dying, the Wii Packers, all that. So, man, I appreciate you taking your time. So,
Yeah, of course, man.
everybody, go give the homie a follow. And just remember, this is the Jerry Pitre podcast for everything in the world of collectible cards, sports memorabilia. Whether you're a seasoned collector or just getting started, we dive deep into the stories, history, and trends shaping the market. Everybody, appreciate you, and we out of here. Peace.
Peace.